never don't care. We cannot falter in the battle. We're tried and true. Indiana, we're all for you.
Welcome to the Indiana Basketball Show on the Grueling True Sports Network. I'm your co-host, Mike Goodpaster, here with my other co-host, 1981 national champion, Steve Risley. How you doing, Steve?
Doing good, doing good, doing good.
All right, so this show, we're going to talk about the transfer portal of the Indiana Hoosiers, who's leaving, whether we're sad about that or not. And then we will get on, we'll give you our Sweet 16 picks. We're going to discuss the NIL, the transfer portal, the way it's changed college basketball, and if it's changed it for the better or not, because the first week of the college basketball tournament, March Madness, was maybe the weakest I've ever seen. But when we start off here with Darren DeVries, Indiana Hoosiers, that rebuild gets bigger by the day for the Hoosiers, Steve, as more and more IU Hoosiers go into the portal. We just had Caden Carlisle. He took his 4 points and 1.2 assists a game and left. Mackenzie Mbako the other day took off. Ja'Kai Newton, I didn't know he was still on the roster. He left. Malik Renew left. Gabe Cupps left. And Gabe Cupps is now at Ohio State. Is there anybody there, Steve, that you hate to lose?
Scott Dawson and Calvert Chaney are still there.
What's that mean?
I mean, we got two people that are semi-tied to the basketball program.
Well, yeah, they're still there. Well, I mean, and you got Luke Goody still wants to stay if he gets another year. So you've got that also.
Didn't we lose a recruit too? Didn't one of the recruits decommit?
It was the guy from like Serbia or Yugoslavia, but Trent Sisley is still staying, which is the guy you would have to worry about because he's the Hoosier kid that I think fits Darren DeVries' offense perfectly. So I think that's a good start. You got Sisley. You're going to get DeVries' son, Tucker, who will be one of the top 10 or 15 players in the country next year. So you've already got two guys that can shoot the ball a little bit to start off with, which is two more than what we've had the last 8 years. Steve.
Hey, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
If Fisher screws up and actually calls him Risley, do I get nil?
I would say this, he won't. I'm pretty sure he won't. It would be awesome if he did.
I'd get him drunk a little bit before a game, and maybe he'll come out there and go, it's Risley from the corner. Wait, that can't be true. Risley never shot from
That's
the
what
corner.
I was going to say. When did you ever shoot from the corner? You shot layups and free throws, if I remember right. When you shot 15-footers, ass meets bench.
I know. Rub it in. All right. Now, what's your question?
I don't remember. You went on too long.
You can look at the nil situation with Indiana one of two good ways. We weren't pleased with the way the players were playing anyway. We don't know. It was a bad mixture, a bad fit, a bad cocktail. I don't know if it was because they didn't get the coaching that they needed. And I'm not saying it was bad coaching. It just wasn't the coaching that they needed.
Well, nobody.
Well, I'm not going to say that. I'm just going to say
you should because
they didn't get the coaching that they needed. That team never got to gel or get together or never was put together in a way you could utilize most of the talent. Cleaning house for the new coach, DeVries coming in, might be a good thing and give him a clean slate. We'll talk about it when we get to more talking about the portal transfer and that type of situation. There are very few teams that have players that have more than one player that has started their college basketball career at the university they're currently at.
Purdue's the only team with 5
Purdue's the only team with all 5. There were only a handful of teams in the tournament that had 3 players that are still at the school they started at. So I don't know. It depends on how good a recruiter this guy is. If he can get out quickly and he can bring some nil people in, the money's not a problem at Indiana. They're going to be able to pay big bucks. And, we assume he's bringing his son. Have they made a formal announcement on that yet?
But I know he entered the portal with a no contact order. Robert Stewart says, Yo for Vero. I expected all to check the portal out. They can withdraw if the coach and player believe it's a good fit. Remember TJD and Race. Yeah, but there's nobody here I think you'd want back. I mean, Renew's an all right player, but he screws up the entire offense because he holds on to the ball.
I'll tell you what, Mike, I would take Mbako back. I like Mbako. I just think
the intensity on defense is what you have to really love.
Well, but you got to see. I think you can pull that out of him.
I don't think he can.
Athletically, he's as gifted a player as Indiana had last year. He just was all over the map in terms of everything. So
he doesn't try hard, so you want to give him back.
If I could fight to bring one player back for that team that I think would help that team next year and be able to fit into from what appears to be DeVry's coaching philosophy. I know you're shaking.
He doesn't fit it.
I think they can make him fit it.
No, they can't.
He's
lazy and he's not very good. So he can score a bunch of points if you clear out throwing the ball.
I don't agree.
You could not agree, but
okay, I don't agree.
You cannot agree, but you're wrong. I mean, if you want to just go ahead and stick to your guns, you're wrong.
All right. Okay. Well, I say you're wrong for thinking I'm wrong.
We'll see right now.
Times infinity plus one.
The little midget,
can't top that.
Little midget in Fort Myers is right now screaming at the TV. See, I told you, Risley, he's an egomaniac.
Me or you?
Me, remember? Because he told you I was.
Oh.
But I'm not. I'm just right. I don't see it. I mean, Malik Renew to me, anytime he was in the game, the offense slowed down. He could only go left. I mean, I don't see what the big deal is. Out of everybody there, Luke Goody, I would take, as long as that's good with DeVries. And the other thing, what do you think about Gabe Cupps going to Ohio State?
I think Ohio State's desperate for anything, and if they can get somebody with an Indiana jersey imprinted on his chest, they're going to take him.
Why?
I just think because Indiana still has some notoriety in the Big Ten. I disagree there too.
Ohio State's done more than Indiana has recently.
Okay, but Indiana still has 5 banners hanging there.
Wow, from 1987. All right, so Robert Stewart says Bryson Tucker. He hadn't entered the portal yet, I don't think. Miles Rice did. I almost forgot to bring up Miles Rice. Bryson Tucker has it. I would give Tucker a shot if the coach is good with him, because I don't think that Tucker was ever really given much chance to play. And I think what he did, the times they let him play extended periods of time, I think he played hard. He wasn't bad defensively. He's a decent offensive player. I wouldn't have a problem with Tucker coming back, but he's a guy that we really didn't see a whole lot of this year for some reason, Steve. Maybe it was the piss poor coaching.
What was DeVry's record at West Virginia last year?
19-13.
How many of his people does he pull a Signati and bring a handful of kids from his program over?
I don't think so, because it seemed like most of that program was pissed when he up and left. His son's coming. They had a top 20 recruiting class last year to draw from, but I haven't heard of anybody other than his son really showing interest so far. But there's also probably at least $6 million here to play with to get players. They haven't. I'm putting it like this: does it worry you at all that they haven't gotten anybody yet?
NASCAR season started, and today is opening day of baseball. I haven't really given a lot of thought to who he's gotten. That's pretty sad. He hasn't gotten anybody yet. That kind of surprised. I mean, even to announce his son is coming, even if he announced his son is coming, that could be a draw. I mean, his son's a highly regarded player. It's like, let's go play there. It seems like the program's been awful quiet when they need to be all over the map. I don't know if they're waiting until right after the dance or what, but they're going to be fighting tooth and nail to get good players into this program, even with the bank account.
The only players eligible to come back were Caden Carlisle, who's now left, Miles Rice, who is now left. Then you're down to Bryson Tucker and Dallas James.
That's a wrestling name right there.
Yeah, and you know what? He played as much
on
as
Sunday
any
Night
pro
Raw
wrestler
on
right?
Netflix the other night.
Yeah. So we will keep people updated with the transfer portal.
We don't have more to say. Nothing's really happening.
Yeah, there's not a lot more to say here. I mean, hopefully you get his son in there. You've got Sisley staying, which is good. The foreign guy, I've never seen him play.
Far.
I don't know. Yeah. So
We could get, I mean, depending on what's out there for Renew and Mbako, they could both come back. I mean, the money may not be out there for them,
It
but
would be awesome if we could get two guys that are lazy and don't play defense back. That would be awesome. I mean, that would just be, I mean, that would really make me think that DeVries is really going to turn this thing around here, Steve.
I'm going to say something I shouldn't say. I would love to videotape sex at your house.
Well, we do it every night. You're more than welcome to come over.
Oh my God. Just got to believe from a camera's point of view, it's got to be hilarious.
Why is that?
I don't know. I just don't know. You're just goofy.
No, she's been around me long enough. She knows exactly how to do it now. So I've walked her through that the first 28 years.
Okay, all right.
All right. So, is March Madness in trouble, Steve?
Wait, we closed out. So, who do we think would be a good fit for Hoosier? Who's out there?
I don't know.
Wow.
There's some guys out there. I haven't looked at it because I've been paying so much attention to the NCAA tournament, to tell you the truth. And
well, okay. Where would we go to draw? Where would we go? Would we go to other major schools, or would we go to mid majors? Where do
I would
we
imagine
go to
with the money,
talent?
you could go wherever you want because you can go get whatever you want anymore. The way it's set up.
Can we buy? I mean, I think we have the war chest. I think.
Well, I mean, this is the thing. We probably got a bigger war chest than what Michigan has. The only thing is they have a correct coach, and they're going to be playing in the Sweet 16 this week. And they replaced
right now,
11 players.
They're last one of the predictors I saw had them beating Michigan State to get in the Final Four.
Yeah, well, that's not going to happen. But what the hell? We'll talk about the Sweet 16 in a little bit, and Steve could give you his Michigan over Michigan State pick, which I'm really not really. I guess they could play, but it would take Michigan upsetting Auburn, Michigan State.
No, they play. They play in the Elite Eight. They would play.
Yeah, that's very possible. They're in the same bracket, but March Madness, to me, Steve, the way it sits right now, almost looks like Major League Baseball. You got the haves and you got the have-nots. There's no Cinderella in the tournament. And let's face it, the Cinderellas are what really brought people into the tournament. You had Magic and Bird. But you also had the Cinderella starting in that 79 tournament where you had the Penn Quakers in there. We've had Cal State Fullerton made a run to the Elite Eight in 1977, I think it was. You even had Idaho that same year make it to the Final Eight. And then over the years, you had Louisville, Chicago, George Mason, teams like Xavier and Gonzaga, who people forget at one point were considered mid-major programs, but with really good coaching, made themselves much bigger than that. And I think it really hurts the tournament if all the top seeds continue to win, Steve. Am I way off base here?
I don't know. I don't know. I just heard you talk like that, and we were talking in pre-production, and I agreed wholeheartedly, but I don't know. I mean, the mid from what perspective? From the tournament's perspective?
Just from the tournament of watching the games, and I think eventually it's going to hurt ratings.
If your team's not playing, it's more fun to have a Florida Atlantic in the tournament.
Yeah.
So we're used to that in Indiana. We're used to rooting for the team, the Cinderella story.
No, we're used to rooting for anybody because we're not in the tournament. We got to pick it.
That's the point I was trying to make.
Okay.
But if your team's in it, I don't really care. I mean, to me, I would look at Florida Atlantic as an easy game, although that's the problem. Everybody looked at it as an easy game, and they beat the crap out of everybody because they had a damn good coach and talent. But I think it doesn't help the game when you got I don't know if I'm stealing your thunder, but you've got 7 ACC teams, 4 Big Ten teams.
SEC, you mean.
SEC, 7 SEC, 4 Big Ten, 4 Big 12, and 1 ACC team who's probably going to win it all. So you have no Cinderella story per se in this dance. I mean, it's kind of sad when you think Maryland may be the Cinderella story.
They're not really a Cinderella story.
No, they're not. That's exactly right. They're not. So has nil money hurt the dance? time will tell. I know I did not watch as much of the basketball this year as I have in the past.
Yeah, I didn't either. I watched the first day completely.
Yeah, I watched Thursday all day. Friday, I got other things to do. Go swing a golf club for a little bit. It's a nice day out. Take the dogs out, get my car washed, and whatever games I can pick up. Tia came home, wanted to watch Housewives of Beverly Hills. We turned it off and watched Housewives of Beverly Hills. Garcelle is quitting the show. Now it looks like Erica Jane's quitting. Tamara Judge is quitting Real Housewives of Orange County. So, we caught up on all that stuff. Deal or No Deal Island. Guy just won $6 million. So it was either all those options or watching the tournament. So, I mean, the games, it seems to me the games were either kind of lopsided. I mean, Duke blowing everybody out. And then, the Maryland game with the last second shot was close.
That
was
did
a great
travel,
game.
by the way.
But I didn't even see that. I had to find that on ESPN.
I watched the end of that one because I had money on Colorado State.
Yeah,
luckily
I
I
didn't
took
even
the
watch
points.
that. It was too late. It was like 8:00. It was on too late out here.
Well, and I think the other thing people are missing here, outside of just the money, is look what the coaches are doing now. There's already been 30 coaches going somewhere else. Ben McCollum is going to Iowa from Drake. Drake's lost their last two coaches in the last 2 years. Richard Pitino goes from New Mexico to Xavier. Kevin Willard just announced to his team that even though they're playing in the Sweet 16 tonight, that they will no longer have him as the coach once they win a championship or lose in this tournament. And he was a guy who was upset last week at a press conference. He brought up the fact that they only had $3 or $4 million to play with. He's going to go to Villanova. Why would you go to Villanova? Why would Richard Pitino go from New Mexico to Xavier? It's very simple. Under college sports' new revenue sharing plan, schools will be permitted to distribute a pool starting this coming season of revenue to athletes, escalating cap at $20.5 million. Power League programs are gearing up to spend the majority of that, of course, on college football. Most schools, 13 to 16 million. So it says here, most major basketball programs will be between 2 and 4 million. But for those Division I schools without a football program, or one that competes in FCS or even at the group of 6 level, you got more flexibility. And what happens with a school like Villanova and Xavier, Kevin Willard goes to Villanova because he's only going to have $4 million if he's at Maryland. If he goes to Villanova, Big East schools next year could pay $6 million or more to their basketball team. So as many as a dozen non-power Division I schools, many of them in the Big East, are planning to spend at least $5 to $7 million on their rosters next year. So the Big East is the place to go because that's where you've got most of the money. And now Kansas State Athletic Director Gene Taylor said that his coaches are worried and that there's rumors starting to fly about circumventing that cap. So my question is, Steve, are we going to go back to under the table again? Because this does sound like a way to maybe even it up for the mid-majors. But we all know, I mean, come on, Richard Pitino, I'm pretty sure he'll probably circumvent the rules. Rick Pitino will circumvent the rules. So they'll get even more money to play with. And now John Calipari's back in play as possibly winning a national championship.
Well, I think anytime you put a dollar amount limit on college basketball programs, you invite cheating because they're going to go around it. So the one thing about the NIL program was there was no limit. I mean, if you could get $20 million for a NBA player, a college player, you could get it if somebody wanted to put that money up. And that just all that did is take the word cheating out of the NCAA's.
And now it can be back, though, finally.
Yeah, now it's back, and the NCAA doesn't want that. I think that's why they so easily, glad-handedly let the NIL thing come in. They got tired of having to police cheating.
Yeah, but now they're going to have cheating again because now you got a salary cap that the university pays off the revenue sharing.
Mike, is this now where the universities are going to give the players a W-2 then?
No, probably not. I don't know.
Well, they
have to. They would have to if they're paying them.
They're getting paid by the university.
Yeah.
So they're now employees of the university. So they're employees of the university. Do
Maybe
they
it'll give them insurance now because a lot of Division I schools, their players have to have their own insurance.
I know when I was there, they asked my parents for our insurance cards. Now I don't know. I don't think they ever called it in.
Yeah.
But I know my parents had to present insurance cards when I went to IU.
Yeah. I mean,
but I don't know that they ever used it. I never got hurt that badly anyway. So when you get sit your ass on the bench after your career, you don't get hurt.
Well, and they've got doctors there unless you really get messed up and have to have surgery or something. But I just think when we look at this, the coaching movement's killing it too. I mean, Kevin Willard is in the middle of he's 2 wins from a Final Four. And last night, Maryland had their banquet for the Sweet 16. He didn't even show up because he was talking to people from Villanova.
Well, that to me, that shows very poor judgment on Willis's fault.
He did the same thing as Seton Hall when he
right.
left Seton
So
Hall.
That's a character flaw with Willis, not necessarily an adaptive, because I don't think that a lot of other coaches would handle it that way. They would say, we're not going to announce.
I don't know. It looks like most of them do.
Well, the problem you have to now is with portal, you got to start recruiting immediately. We talked about this earlier tonight. Said today, I'm surprised DeVries isn't. I'm not already hearing about Indiana and DeVries out there landing some players already. I mean, Indiana's got a bankroll as good as any college basketball program in the country, and we haven't landed anybody yet. And
I haven't heard a lot of people landing anywhere yet, so I wouldn't, Yeah, and the same thing with DeVries. I think this. I think that Indiana reached out to him before his season was over, and it's not illegal, but it is immoral. But it's the NCAA, so everything's immoral. So at least we got a coach. You got that.
Yeah. Here's a statement that I got questions for you. So my statement is this: right now, this whole crap of the NIL of revenue sharing, it's like the wild, wild west.
Yeah. There's no rules.
It's like you just go out west.
Now there'll be some rules.
You keep a 6-shooter and a Winchester rifle on your saddle and a 6-shooter in your hip, and you're either kill or be killed out there. If your horse falls and lands on you, you break your leg, you're pretty much dead. And this is kind of what this whole program is like right now. They need to continue to refine it. I think that anything relative to revenue sharing and putting limits on amount of money is going to invite cheating into the program, because teams will find a way to get around the revenue sharing. Now that I'm an employee of the university, does that mean I get a company car? Does that mean I get a Cadillac Escalade as my company car?
Now, that'll already be given to them by an auto dealership.
Does nil go away and it's all revenue sharing? Or are they allowed to get revenue sharing and nil? Do we know the answer to that question?
Yeah. From what I read, the NIL stays. They've made some tweaks to it. In a lot of cases, your rules for that will depend on what state you're in, because they are actually by state allowed to make their own rules to try to rectify this. But I'm sure it's not the last time we talk about it. But let's talk about some basketball, Steve. Because
hang on a second. Let's finish this up over here. Are we continuing to I think this is what's happening, and comment on this, Mike. We're continuing to make television, I believe, is behind this crap. And I think the television is not unhappy the fact of who's left in the Sweet 16. They got the biggest audiences, the biggest cities.
I think you want the underdog. The most watched game ever.
I think they want one underdog. I think they want one underdog.
Got to have an underdog. But you want a handful of upsets on that first day, because that generates interest.
Right. There were minimal upsets on the first day. Are we continuing to do this? Turn college basketball into the NBA, where money talks, bullshit walks.
It's already been
the NBA, the Yankees, the Dodgers, the Lakers, the Celtics. They just go out and buy championships, basically. They do.
That's what you got here. Just look at the 16 teams left.
Where college is just going to have the ability to buy an NCAA championship. Yeah. Is the ring going to devalue now? It's like, oh, you bought that ring.
Well, you got to look at it like this, though. I mean, hell, if you play for Kentucky, they got a bunch of national championships. Anybody that's wearing one of those rings, it was bought. But
there's no proof of that. Now,
there is.
No, it's not. It's not documented.
Times they were put on probation.
It probably happened.
No, it happened. It's documented, Steve.
But there still was an error of possibly getting caught and and
Oh,
dismantled.
Steve.
Now there'll be no chance of that. You'll just go out and you'll push it. Alumni will circumvent that 20%, and you'll be able to play a payer $5, $6, $7 million to play college basketball for you. I mean, you're going to get to a point where you're going to see more college players because they can't make that kind of money in the real world. Hell, I know that Trey Galloway would love to stay another year at IU. He ain't making $500,000 a year in the real
Well,
world.
he would love to stay for the rest of his life at
Yeah,
IU.
who
He's
wouldn't
already
be
been
making
there
half a
so
million
far.
dollars a year going to college and playing basketball? John Blutarski, Christ, 7 years of college down the drain. Where were you when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor?
All right, Steve. Let's go to the Sweet 16 because once again you were wrong about Matt Painter because he's won
let
2
me
more
ask you my
games.
final bang before we get off that.
No, I gotta
Have we
check it in the oven.
devalued? Have we finally, probably rightfully so, devalued the NCAA? Is the NCAA have any worth anymore other than collecting money from
No, I told
CBS
you
and
that before.
CBS?
They won't even exist. I mean, most professional sports and college sports don't have a reason to exist anymore because they've been destroyed by soft rules, by money, and it's basically become the haves and the have-nots. It always has been, but it's even more like that now. I mean, this entire country has turned into that with everything. You either got a lot of money or you don't got a lot of money. If you got a lot of money, you're successful. You know, this is not the world we grew up in the 1970s when a Steve Risley in 1974 is outside working his ass off to become something someday. And then he does it anymore. It's much harder to do that than it's ever been.
Yeah,
It just
I know,
is.
I drove a 1968 Torino GT with optional dents and rust.
That's not a bad
These
car.
guys are driving Escalades.
There shouldn't have been that many dents in 1976 on it, though.
Oh, 68. I had that putty, that stuff you used to fill, that rust filler stuff putty.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I had to put that in and tackle it in. And Bondo, yeah. Well, I couldn't paint it.
Yeah.
You know, it just was sticking out like a camouflage Torino GT.
All right, real quick. You are known as being probably the best prognosticator of college basketball games outside of Charles Barkley. We're going to look. I'm going to give you the Sweet 16 game.
Wait a minute. Pettigrew says that WVA hired Boss Hogg. Dukes of Hazzard, baby.
There you go. We got Michigan State, Ole Miss tonight, Steve. You think Michigan State will win?
Where's Ross Hogg from? Mike, where's Ross Hogg from?
West Virginia. He got
That's
fired.
where he's going to.
No, he got fired, wasn't it?
He got hired by West Virginia UVA.
Yeah. All right. Michigan State, Ole Miss tonight, Steve.
So what is WVA?
West Virginia, Steve.
I thought it was UVA.
W at the front of West. There's a V at the start of Virginia, and there's an A at the end of Virginia, Steve. Come on. You should know this.
UVA is University of Virginia.
Yes. All right,
Terry
Steve.
Holland. Is Terry Holland still the coach there?
He's probably dead. All right. Sweet 16, Steve. Michigan State. Are they going to beat Ole Miss?
Hang on. Let me get to the
What do you mean, hang on?
I've got to change pages.
Why do you have to change pages? I didn't.
Because you're smart.
Yeah. Okay. Well.
Do I think that is Michigan State going to beat Ole Miss? Yes.
Yeah. All right. I think Ole Miss wins tonight behind Chris Beard. I think Michigan State's overrated. Florida versus Maryland. Do you think Maryland can overcome their coach? Huh?
We're not breaking down the games.
I just want the picks. I got a chicken in the oven and it's going to burn.
Oh, Jesus.
It took longer than I thought. I thought it would be done before the show.
Still eating Yardbird?
No, we'll talk about a few of these, but Florida versus Maryland. Can Maryland overcome their coach leaving?
No, I think that there's disarray there, and I think Maryland's Sweet 16 little run is over and done with.
Yeah, and I think Walter.
They actually, if you think about it, if he doesn't hit that shot, they shouldn't even be there.
Travel, yeah, but also the game.
He did take like 8 steps.
He took 3, which is a travel. All right, here's what that interests me: Auburn versus Dusty May and the Michigan Wolverines, because this is the thing. Auburn entered the season losing 3 out of 4 or 4 out of their last 5 games. I think Michigan has realized they're good. They won the Big Ten championship. They win a lot of close games. You got 2 7-footers of Danny Wolf and Vlad Golden. And I think the point spread on this game is like 8. I would bet Michigan with the points here. I think Auburn probably wins the game, but I think Michigan's got a better shot here than most people think.
Oh, well, you know my feeling on it. Two thoughts here. One, I love the Big Ten. And two, I think the SEC is still overrated in tournament play. But we'll see. We'll see. Well, I mean, it's we'll see. I would go with me. I got Michigan in the Final Four.
All right. Next up, Texas Tech versus Arkansas tonight. I think this is a game where I think Texas Tech is just a better team all around. I think Arkansas beat a highly overrated Kansas team. And I think to beat a St. John's team that can't shoot the freaking ball, which makes it really hard to win games in the tournament. I think Texas Tech wins this game by 7 to 10 points, Steve.
I disagree with you. I think this is Calipari's coming out. I think he's going to prove right here and now that he
He's
is
gay?
a viable basketball coach.
I didn't know
That
he
he
was
can
gay.
coach a team. He's been these dances before. He's won championships. He knows how to get it done. He knows what to do. I think people look at Kentucky and he got labeled justifiably a cheater, a scandal-ridden guy. But I think this guy can coach. I think Arkansas. I almost like Arkansas in the Final Four. We'll see who they got to play next. But I got Arkansas beating Texas Tech.
All right, next up, Alabama versus BYU, Steve.
I think Alabama's just too strong.
All right, I think BYU wins this game. I think this is the upset of the night. I think the Cougars, over the last month, have been one of the 4 or 5 best teams in the country. I think their only loss in their last 11 games was to Houston, and Kelvin Sampson has Houston playing at a very high rate. But Alabama did not play as well at the end of the year as they did at the start of the year. They kind of staggered to the finish line. And Alabama has fifth-year guard Mark Sears, who's a very good basketball player. But BYU and Alabama, 2 of the best offenses in basketball. I think BYU is going to win this game like 96 to 93 tonight in an absolute great game. We've also got in Indianapolis, you've got Tennessee versus Kentucky, Steve. The Wildcats beat the Volunteers the first 2 times they played this season. Do you think the Wildcats can make it 3 in a row?
You know, if they do, I consider this a home game for UK. I think they'll be, although Tennessee, Knoxville's not a lot farther away.
Yeah, remember, there'll be a lot of Purdue fans and Houston fans probably cheering for Tennessee. And Tennessee carries their crowd pretty big, too.
Yeah, I don't think fans, I shouldn't bring in fans. I think at this level, these guys get beyond the fandom anyway. My sentimental pick's Kentucky, but I'm going to go with Tennessee pulling the win out of here.
All right. I'm going to take, the one thing about this, I remember from writing the articles, Kentucky made 23 out of 48 3-point shots in the team's first 2 games. They won the games as big. They were a 10-point underdog, I think, at Tennessee, a 3.5-point underdog at Kentucky. You've got Lamont Butler, who's healthy, which is huge for the Wildcats. I think Tennessee's the better team, but I think Kentucky won these first 2 games just not because of the 3-point shooting. I think they're a bad matchup for Tennessee. I think the Wildcats are actually going to win this game. Then we get to Duke, Arizona. Cooper Flight.
Hang on. Let me just make one comment since you brought it up here. I don't ever count 3-point shooting as a reason why a team should win a game. I think it's pot luck. I've seen great teams that were 3-point shooters all season long and came out and just started throwing bricks. Where are they playing this thing at?
Playing it in Indianapolis.
Gamebridge or at the Dome?
Yeah, so far Robert likes Michigan State, Florida, Auburn, Texas Tech, Alabama, and Kentucky. So
all right, where is the regional?
Indianapolis. I just told you.
I know Indianapolis, but is it Gamebridge or is it
Lucas Oil?
Lucas Oil. Now, see, 3-point shooting, that's not a good gym.
Okay.
The backdrop has changed a lot. The depth perception is off. I would not bank on a team. I would not count on great 3-point shooting out of Kentucky.
I'm not counting on great 3-point shooting. I don't think Tennessee offensively is that good. And this is the thing. Kentucky is the better shooting team. Tennessee doesn't shoot the ball as well, especially from 3.
Tennessee's a beast, though. They play physical basketball.
And if you're going to play the game in a big stadium is harder to shoot in, wouldn't it make sense that you'd want the better shooting Kentucky team because Tennessee's probably going to struggle even more than that?
I want the team that pounds the ball inside and gets their points in the paint.
Then that's why you took them. I think we both could agree Duke over Arizona, correct? I think that's going to be a blowout.
I don't think. I think the only person that can beat Duke is their second team.
I think there's a few teams. And then we've got Houston versus Purdue. And I think Houston is definitely the better team. I think the Boilermakers will make a run in this game. I think Braden Smith, Fletcher Lawyer, very good shooters. They play really well. Trey Kaufman, Wren. But Houston is relentless on the boards. I think Houston wears them down and beats them at the end.
I don't know. Houston did not impress me that much. I mean, they were good, but this is an off year for Gonzaga for sure. Really. I'm going to go with Purdue in the upset here.
All right, I'm good with that. My big upset's BYU. Yours is Purdue. I got nothing else. What about you, Steve?
That's all we're going to talk about today?
Yeah, I got to check it any of it.
Really? Seriously? That's more important than us putting on a good show for the people that take
I think this has been a good show. What do you think, Robert? I mean, it's 35 minutes. You always told me before, if we go longer than 30 minutes, it's just too long.
But we haven't even got into our jokes yet. I got a bunch of jokes.
You got a bunch of jokes?
Yeah. Don't you want to talk about the movie September 5th? You talked about it.
I already did talk to you about it. Do you want me to go check on my chicken and take it out, and then we can continue?
How about the Celtics? Documentary?
What about it? We've already both watched it.
I don't like it. It's not about basketball.
Robert said it's been a great show.
Oh, Robert just molests collies too.
Why would you say that? Why would anybody molest collies? There's so much hair; it would take forever to get to the.
I don't know. I heard Chevy Chase say it one time about somebody.
Chevy Chase is a crackhead.
Oh, Chevy Chase said it in Caddyshack.
He's a crackhead.
Judge Smales molests collies.
Yeah, but I would think Judge Smales might have molested collies.
I know. All right.
Well, if you want, I'll go off here for like 2 minutes and you just talk to everybody.
No, I don't want. They don't want to hear me talk for 2 minutes. That would ruin the show entirely.
All right, guys, make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell notification on YouTube.
Chicken in the oven.
No, I've got a number 2, Steve. Pretty bad. All right, that's a good enough reason, ain't it? All right, so we're gonna wrap this up. Make sure you follow me on X at Grueling Truth. But for now, for Steve Risley, I'm Mike Goodpaster.
To all the 3 people that are probably listening to us, I apologize. This is by far the crappiest show we've done all season long.
Okay. All right, guys, we're going to let you go. For Steve Risley, I'm Mike Goodpaster.